Olivia and Noah were walking down the street, hand in hand, enjoying the warm afternoon sun. Suddenly, Noah stopped, pulling Olivia to a halt. He pointed excitedly at a storefront. "Look, Olivia, that's the new bookstore I was telling you about." Olivia's eyes lit up. She loved books almost as much as Noah loved video games. They spent the next hour browsed the shelves, Noah in the science fiction section and Olivia lost among the historical novels. As they left, each with a new book, Noah smiled at Olivia. "This was a great idea, wasn't it?" Olivia squeezed his hand. "The best," she replied, "and we should definitely come back next week." Right after the morning break, Isabella storms up to me, throwing a set of car keys and a bank card at my chest. "I told you I don't want your charity," she snaps. She pauses, then adds coldly, "And stop wasting your time on me. I'll never like you." Standing at the bottom of the steps, I look up at her, confused. I don't understand. Isabella can't even afford proper meals. She runs over 20 kilometers a day to care for her sick mother. So why won't she accept the car and card I gave her? Just like I don't understand why, despite knowing so many girls more beautiful and talented than her, I fell for her completely. So hard that I became the school's most pathetic simp, the guy everyone mocks for chasing after Isabella. But just as these strange thoughts start to surface, an invisible force crushes them back down. Next, like a robot running on preset code, I lower my head submissively and pick up the keys and card, holding them out to her with pitiful devotion. "Isabella, it's not charity," I say gently. "I just feel sorry for you." But all I see in her eyes is pure disgust. She spits out, "Your pity makes me sick." Then, without warning, she shoves me hard. I lose my balance and tumble down the stairs. A wave of dizziness overwhelms me, and suddenly a new memory appears in my mind. More precisely, it's not a memory, it's the plot. Turns out, I'm just the side character in a school-set redemption story. Isabella's true love is her childhood crush, the perfect golden boy, Kenji. Half a year later, her mother dies. She fails her college entrance exams. Under immense pressure, she finally agrees to be with me. She accepts my family's sponsorship and studies abroad. I thought we were starting a new chapter together. She thought it was a humiliating compromise. For 5 whole years, she barely looked me in the eye. When we returned home, she and one of my company's executives colluded to steal my family's fortune. When my enemies came knocking, she left with Kenji without hesitation, watched coldly as I was stabbed to death and bled out. The last image in my mind was of me collapsing with blood pouring from my chest while Kenji had his arm around her, and she walked away without even a glance back. Her cold expression at 25 overlaps perfectly with her current 18-year-old scornful glare. I stare at her in a daze for half a minute. Isabella falters for just a split second. Then, when the class bell rings, she pauses mid-step, turns around with a sneer and says, "If you want to be late, go ahead and keep playing dead, but don't think you can guilt-trip me with this act. It just makes me look down on you even more." That snaps me out of it. My voice raspy, I call out, "Wait." Isabella stops, but doesn't turn around. "What?" she says impatiently. "I only pushed you. You didn't die? What? You planning to sue me or something?" But by then, I've already stood up and walked over to her. In the next second, under her stunned gaze, I reach into her school uniform pocket, snatch the car keys and bank card, and wave as I walk away. "Bye now?" "Finally. You fake innocent little snake. Didn't see that coming, did you? I've awakened. This broke loser. Whoever wants to provide aid can go ahead." After school in the afternoon, I got into the car sent by my family to pick me up. But the driver didn't start the engine right away. I was wondering what he was waiting for. Then a slim figure passed by and the driver, Uncle Ben, immediately rolled down the window and waved. "Miss Lena, aren't you getting in?" Isabella's disdainful gaze landed on me through the thick glass window. From a distance, it was as if she thought everything I'd said that morning was just a petty tantrum, and now, as expected, I was crawling back, begging for forgiveness like some pathetic simp again. "Mark," I said irritably, "are you my driver or Isabella's?" Mark's smile froze. "Young master, what are you saying? Of course I serve you." I frowned and said, "There's no Miss Lena in my family. If you call her that again, I'll hire someone with a better memory." He stammered, "Why, yes. Understood, young master." Mark started the car, stealing one last glance at Isabella. In the original plot, aside from my parents, Everyone around me thought Isabella was some kind of saint. Even when she showed no gratitude and acted all high and mighty, they still believed she had pride and backbone, and that I was just the arrogant rich boy forcing her into submission. I looked out the window at Isabella unlocking her bicycle. In the original story, the car key and card I gave her in the morning, she said with shame and anger that she didn't want them. But after some inner monologue full of moral struggle, she still ended up using my card to pay for her mother's hospital bills, all while putting on an act as if I'd coerced her and she was the one being wronged. But now she had nothing. With over 20 kilometers to travel each day and those insane medical bills, what was she going to do? With the college entrance exams approaching, the summer sun grew more and more brutal. By the time I was already home eating chilled watermelon and working on homework, Isabella was still arriving at the hospital drenched in sweat. After I finished my assignments, I called my dad. "Hey Dad, where are you? I need to talk to you about something." I still remembered clearly how the Chen family ended up ruined. I needed to warn my parents and help them avoid anything that could harm our company. He answered, "What's wrong? Your Uncle Liam is sick. We're at the hospital visiting him." I asked, "Which hospital?" "I'll come find you." After getting the address, I told Mark to drive me there. Just as I walked through the payment hall, I heard a familiar voice. "Dr. Evans, I'm begging you, please go ahead with the surgery for my mom. I'll find a way to pay later." The doctor sighed and said, "There are rules, you know. If you haven't paid, there's nothing I can do. You're still behind on the last bills. I've already pulled strings for you, but if you can't come up with the money in the next few days, we'll have no choice but to discharge your mother." Isabella was brushed aside. She crouched to the ground in despair. She was a completely different person from the proud and defiant girl I'd seen at school this morning. So Isabella could bow her head after all. Then what made her act so high and mighty around me? Was it the blind, self-sacrificing love of the supporting male lead? I walked past her toward the elevators. Just as I stepped beside her, the girl, still with her head down, choked out through tears, "Alex, you win." I blinked in confusion. "Wait, what?" I turned back in confusion and asked, "What?" Isabella stood up. Her eyes were red, yet her expression was still stubborn as hell. She stared at me and said, "Isn't this what you wanted? To see me fall apart, have no way out, and finally beg for your charity?" I stared at her in silence for a moment, then finally muttered, "Are you mentally ill or something?" She scoffed, thinking I was just being petty. Then, with extreme reluctance, she extended her hand toward me and said, "Give it to me." I frowned. "Give you what?" The card, obviously. "You came here just to give me your bank card, didn't you?" She paused and then added in an even more condescending tone, "Don't tell me it's just a coincidence you showed up here, Alex. I know exactly what kind of scum you are." I was stunned. What kind of author wrote the original plot? She's the heroine, and yet her worldview is this twisted? I said, "You've got to be kidding me, you fake innocent. Do me a favor and get a grip." I moved her aside, pinched the bridge of my nose, feeling like if I looked at her for another second, I might actually slap her. Grinding my teeth, I said, "Yes, my family has money, but I'm not some brain-dead idiot. My parents donate a ton of money every year, but I've never seen anyone we've helped act like such an entitled brat to the people helping them. I've never seen someone twist the whole damn situation around like this. Yeah, you've had a hard life. Boo-hoo. But what the hell does that have to do with me? Back when I was head over heels for you, I gave you everything. People called me a simp, and I didn't say a word. And in the end, you turned into this shameless psycho who bites whoever gets close. Do I owe you something now? You've got the nerve to demand money from me like it's your birthright. A slap? I've got two with your name on them. Take your pick." Isabella looked at me coldly. Yep, called it. That entire rant just went in one ear and out the other. Sure enough, she let out a sarcastic snort. "Oh, so now having money gives you the right to humiliate people however you like, Alex? You've never understood me. You don't even understand how disgusting you really are." I sighed. "Fine. If you hate me that much, then hate my money while you're at it." But just as I finished speaking, the elevator behind me dinged open, and a second later, a furious voice shouted from behind, "Alex, what kind of man bullies a woman like this?" Before I could react, someone shoved me hard from behind. I hit the floor, and then that someone lunged forward, pinning me down and swinging at my face. My rage exploded. I countered with a brutal kick, sending him stumbling back 2 steps. I stood up, breathing hard, my eyes ice cold as I scanned my attacker. Standing in front of Isabella was a short, scrawny guy with tanned skin and a flat nose. He glared at me, face twisted with rage. I didn't even need to think. It was obvious who this was. Isabella's childhood friend, the so-called handsome male lead of the original story, Kenji. He snapped, "Alex, you've gone too far." I hadn't even opened my mouth when Kenji pointed his finger in my face like some white knight idiot and shouted, "Isabella has dignity. She would never sell herself for your dirty money. Trying to buy someone's heart like this is just pathetic and low." I stared at him expressionless. Maybe my gaze was too intense because Isabella furrowed her brow and said coldly, "What kind of look is that? Did Kenji say anything wrong?" Kenji, emboldened by her support, continued, "Even though Isabella refuses your money, for Aunt Lena's sake, I'm willing to help convince them. But Alex, don't think that'll win you Isabella's heart." I let out a flat, "Oh," and said without changing expression, "I swear to God, I want to smack your disgusting face with my size 11 boot." Seriously, what kind of dialogue is this? Is there even a single normal person in this entire book? Isabella wrinkled her nose in disgust and rolled her eyes. "What do you expect? Me to be grateful to you or something?" I was done. Without a word, I pulled out my phone, tapped 911, and said, "You can save the rest of your bullshit for the cops. There's no way even the police would be brainwashed by this novel logic, right?" Kenji's eyes widened in disbelief. "You're calling the police?" "No way. I'm warning you, Alex, if you go through with this, Isabella will hate you for the rest of her life." And right after he said that, I hit the call button without a second's hesitation, as if I needed to wait even a single second longer. What if she suddenly started liking me again? During the 20 minutes we waited for the police to arrive, Kenji tried every angle to talk me down. "Alex," he said, "I know this is all because your bitter Isabella rejected your charity. How about this? Give the money to me. I'll talk to her for you. Cancel the police call, and we'll call it even. I only hit you because I wanted to protect Isabella. Why can't you reflect on your own mistakes instead of dragging us down with you?" I just stood there, arms folded, leaning against the wall, keeping a healthy distance from both of them. Hearing that, I actually laughed. "Wow, call it even? You want to beat me up, take my money, and have me beg you to accept my help too? What am I, some kind of masochist? You really think you get the perks and the moral high ground? Not gonna happen. The two of you can sit tight and wait for the cops." Kenji frowned. "Why are you so heartless? Sure, wanting to help people is admirable, but if you're gonna help, help all the way. Don't turn something good into something ugly. If the police get involved, Isabella's life will be ruined. Can you really live with that, Alex? If you can't have her, so you destroy her instead? Is that your idea of love? That's worth nothing." I smirked. "Help to the end? Sure. How about I buy you 2 matching coffins? Add a couple's burial package while I'm at it. And for the record, I'm not the one ruining your lives. You did that all by yourselves. You're the one who blocked my way. You're the one who got physical first. My only mistake today was not checking my damn horoscope. Could have avoided meeting you two clowns entirely." Their faces grew darker by the second. Isabella's jet black eyes stared daggers at me. Even when the police arrived, both of them still looked like they couldn't believe it, like they were thinking, did Alex actually call the cops? Seriously? The police pulled the CCTV footage, and under my firm insistence, no compromise was made. They were held responsible for my medical expenses and had to report to the station for a formal warning and education session. Before leaving, Isabella threw me a venomous glare as if to say, "I will never love you in this lifetime." I shrugged, indifferent, as if I ever wanted her anyway. I went to the hospital to visit Uncle Liam. That girl, Chloe, was there too. When she saw me, she let out a cold snort. While the two elders were chatting, I pulled Chloe out of the ward. The first thing I said, "We can stop sponsoring Isabella." Chloe's expression, previously full of disdain, changed in an instant. She stared at me wide-eyed in disbelief. "What happened? Did you two break up?" I looked at her with a blank face. She didn't know we were never even together. Ever since Isabella's mother had her accident, I had secretly arranged for Chloe to sponsor Isabella in the name of the White family. We gave her a living allowance of 5,000 yuan a month, and I even got her a full scholarship through the school. At first, Isabella would politely write thank you letters to Chloe. Of course, I was the one who read those letters and the one who replied. Maybe I was too enthusiastic in my replies, always pouring in strong emotions. Gradually, our letters turned flirtatious. However, Isabella had no idea and simply believed that the person exchanging letters with her was a boy with the last name White. Before I had awakened, I was so obsessed with her partly because I believed Isabella was as gentle and serene as she seemed in those letters, not the hysterical girl she was at school. Chloe noticed my gloomy expression and pouted. Fine, as long as you've thought it through. But I still have to remind you, Isabella is not a good person. Once the White family stops sponsoring her, she'll have no income. Don't be dumb enough to spend your own money on her. As she spoke, she opened WeChat and forwarded me a few clickbait-style articles titled things like how to spot a gold digger, identifying a pretentious coquette, and why marrying into the right family matters. I said, got it. Even as I spoke, I was filled with deep regret. There were still rational people around me. Why hadn't I listened before? With all these thoughts swirling in my mind, I sat in silence during the car ride home with my dad. He was looking at his phone and asked without turning his head, "What's wrong?" In a bad mood. I sighed, "Not exactly. I was just wondering what if our family suddenly went bankrupt one day." My dad laughed. "That's impossible. Don't tell me you think your allowance isn't enough." As he spoke, he waved his hand and immediately transferred me 50,000 yuan. I said, "That's not it." I accepted the money happily, then said seriously, "I had a bad dream last night. Just promise me, Dad, you and Mom must never use illegal means in business and don't store any important files on the company computers, okay?" My dad thought for a moment, then turned to look at me. "Okay, I promise." Only then did I smile again. I asked, "What are you reading?" He said, "A tweet from Dr. Evans." He raised his phone to show me. "A cancer patient is in need of donations." I was thinking of sending some money. The moment he finished speaking, my pupils shrank. I remembered the person in need of donations was Isabella's mother. In the original timeline, Dr. Evans helped raise funds. My parents donated 200,000 yuan, but due to platform fund delays, the money didn't arrive for nearly 3 months. Isabella's mother passed away before she could get the surgery. Crushed by grief, Isabella directed all her hatred toward our family and Dr. Evans. She swore she would make us pay, and the result? Our entire family went bankrupt. Dr. Evans lost both his arms and could never practice medicine again. Without even thinking, I pressed down my dad's hand and said, "Dad, we can't donate this money." "Why not?" He looked at me puzzled. "Our family donates millions to charity every year." A mere 200,000 meant nothing to him. I didn't tell him the truth. I simply said, "Cancer isn't curable. Rather than putting her through painful treatments, it's better to leave that money for the living." My dad didn't question me. He just nodded and turned off his phone. "You've got a point," he said. Ever since the incident at the hospital, Isabella and I had entered a cold war. Many students at school who were used to watching our drama quickly noticed something was off. During the class break exercises, Isabella's group of friends came up to her and asked, "Isabella, did you have a fight with Alex?" Our class and theirs were right next to each other, so their conversation carried easily over. It sounded like they were deliberately saying it loud enough for me to hear from half a meter away. Isabella's chilly gaze landed on me. Then she let out a cold snort. Her friends immediately exchanged knowing smiles. One of them said, "What fight? Someone like Alex is just a simp. No way he'd dare argue with our Isabella." Another chimed in, "Exactly. It's probably just that Isabella doesn't want to deal with him." A third said, "Don't be fooled by how Alex's face is all cold now. Just wait. He'll be running back to Isabella with puppy eyes before long. Want to bet?" They all instantly said they believed it. And honestly, who could blame them? I had been such a simp before, practically tailing Isabella every day. They were convinced nothing had changed. Those comments seemed to inflate Isabella's ego, especially after I had sent her to the police station and caused her to lose face. She smirked silently, casting a vague, unreadable glance in my direction. I was speechless. The drama they came up with was next level. Seeing that Isabella was no longer putting on a cold face, her friends exchanged subtle looks and cautiously tested the waters. "Isabella, it's Emily's birthday today. Want to hit up karaoke tonight?" Without even thinking, Isabella said, "Sure." Emily immediately lit up. "Yay, I'll go ask my mom for some money when I get home. Let's party all night." Isabella frowned slightly and waved her finger. "It's your birthday. How can we let you pay?" Emily bit her lip. But everyone's family is strict about money. We can't really afford it. Isabella let out a soft scoff. I can. The moment she said that, the others exchanged triumphant glances, though their mouths were full of praise. They gushed. Oh, Isabella, you're seriously the best. You warmed our hearts today. You're totally our rock. What would we even do without you? You're such a good girl. Alex totally doesn't deserve you. The comments from her friends clearly gave Isabella a huge boost of emotional validation. At that moment, she felt needed, like the brightest star in her circle of friends. Her vanity was deeply satisfied. But to me, it all just sounded like these girls were out of their minds. The original storyline. Isabella plays the girl lover trope. She loved playing the role of the kind girl who helped other girls in trouble, often spending her own money to support them. Later on, she and her close female friends supported each other and started an all-women studio. But that whole persona was pretty dumb in the early stages. Why? Because Isabella herself came from a poor background. Her father had died when she was young, and her mother was battling cancer. Every month, she survived solely on the 5,000 yuan allowance I secretly provided through the White family's name. To a high schooler living on an average monthly budget of 1,000 yuan, that was a significant amount. Her friends showered her with attention just so they could spend her money. Isabella, loving the feeling of being the center of attention, ended up spending a lot on them. As a result, during the entire 2 years she was being sponsored, she didn't save a single cent. Looking back now. If she had just saved a portion of that money each month and maybe picked up a part-time job on weekends, over 2 years, she could have easily saved up enough for her mother's surgery. After school that afternoon, I stood at the school gate waiting for my driver. That's when Isabella and her friends came, laughing and chatting, toward the ATM next to the entrance. 5 minutes later, they came back out. Emily asked, "Why is there no money on your card, Isabella? Didn't they transfer you next month's funding?" Isabella's expression darkened. She frowned and said, "That's impossible. Daniel isn't like that." As she spoke, she rummaged through her bag for her phone and dialed a number. Blocked. A wave of humiliation and unease surged through her. The others noticed something was wrong and started chirping. "Isabella, he blocked you. Maybe he doesn't want to sponsor you anymore. So how are you supposed to treat us tonight?" Another girl added, "Forget about treating. What are you going to live on now? Do you even have your own money?" Emily said, "I already called and reserved a private room. What are we supposed to do with no money?" One question after another, each one a dagger stabbing straight into Isabella's pride. Someone as proud as her felt like she had just been slapped in the face. She clutched her phone, eyes gradually reddening. Then all of a sudden, she looked up. Across several meters of distance, her cold, piercing gaze locked onto me. My brow twitched. I had a bad feeling. The next second, Isabella suddenly stepped toward me. "Alex," she called my name in a low, deliberately softened voice, sounding almost sweet. "That 3,000 yuan I transferred to you last time, can you return it to me?" She was referring to the 3,000 yuan paid under police pressure, compensation from her and her boyfriend for my medical expenses. I frowned. "Why should I give it to you?" That money was ours, not the charity you used to throw at me. Why can't I take it back?" I responded, "That was compensation. The police ruled you owed me for assaulting someone." Isabella's face turned beet red. The way she looked at me, it was like I'd killed her entire family. Seeing I wasn't budging, she gritted her teeth and said, "I'll give you the medical fee back next time. Just return this amount to me first." I sneered and looked at her like she'd lost her mind. Then I turned my head away, done with the conversation. Fuming, Isabella stomped her foot and shouted, "Alex, you're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Just because I didn't want your filthy money or feelings. You're forcing me like this." She glared at me with hate, took a deep breath, then closed her eyes like she was making some great sacrifice. Finally, she exhaled slowly and said, "Fine. I won't ask you to return the medical fee. I accept your charity. Happy now? There, everyone's watching. Give me the money." I was speechless. I said, "Isabella, do you not understand plain human speech?" I resisted the urge to slap her and said instead of running around celebrating birthdays with your friends and pestering me here, maybe spare a thought for your mom's medical bills." Isabella flinched. "Are you threatening me?" Just then, Mark finally drove up, fashionably late. I went straight to open the door and get in, but Isabella grabbed the car door. My mom's medical bills are none of your business. Dr. Evans is helping me raise the funds. You can't use that to threaten me, she added. Just answer me one question. Still clinging to the door, her voice shook with anger. Are you giving me the money or not? I didn't waste words. I pried her hands off the door and shoved her aside. Bang! The door slammed shut. I said to Mark, drive. As the window rolled up, I looked Isabella in the eyes and said, maybe ask Dr. Evans to check your head while he's at it. In the end, Isabella still got the money, but it wasn't from me. It was from Kenji. Kenji, heartbroken, handed Isabella 1,000 yuan in cash. With a pained expression, he said, Isabella, this is my allowance for next month. Isabella was touched. Got it. I'll pay you back next month. I believe you. Kenji nodded, and after a pause, by the way, Isabella, what college are you planning to apply to? Without hesitation, Isabella replied, of course, Imperial University. She was a top student, always ranked in the top 5 of the year. Getting into Imperial University or Golden Phoenix was practically a given. Upon hearing that, Kenji's face fell. Isabella, I want to go to Imperial University too, so I can stay by your side and protect you. I'm afraid that if I'm not there, someone else might bully you. But my grades are still a bit short for that level. Isabella hadn't even considered their future. After a moment's thought, she said, isn't there a directed mission slot? Kenji sighed. Alex is also competing for that slot. The moment she heard Alex's name, Isabella scoffed. So what? Her delusions kicked in, and with Kenji's cash still in hand, she linked her arm through his and said reassuringly, don't worry, Kenji. I'll talk to Alex and persuade him to give up that slot. The teachers and the principal all think highly of me. You'll definitely get into Imperial University. I, of course, knew nothing of this conversation. In the original plotline, I really did give up that directed mission spot for Isabella. But I still managed to get into Imperial University through my own hard work. Isabella, on the other hand, failed to get in ironically because Kenji did get into Imperial University. In the original timeline, he gained a lot of university connections, which later made their road to revenge much smoother. Now that I knew how it all played out, I filled out the application form without hesitation and submitted it to the school. The next afternoon, I went to the White residence and dug out all the old letters Isabella and I had exchanged. In the letters, Isabella called me Brother Liam and wrote how she had never met someone so mature, gentle, and caring, a true warm-hearted guy. It was enough to make your teeth ache from cringe. Chloe stood nearby, watching me rip the letters up. She covered her mouth and giggled. If she ever finds out that her so-called warm-hearted big brother is actually the guy she hates most at school, I wonder how she'd react. I had no words for that. After destroying the letters, Chloe and I headed downstairs. As we turned the corner on the staircase, we suddenly heard Isabella's pleading voice. Uncle Liam, please don't stop sponsoring me. High school's almost over. Once I get into college, you'll be proud of me too, right? At the sound of footsteps, she instinctively looked up and locked eyes with me. Chloe, having heard her words, rolled her eyes and said, you really think our family's that desperate to sponsor someone like you? If we wanted, we could support dozens of students into Imperial University every year. But in Isabella's ears, those words, what are you but a plaything to the rich? Her eyes instantly turned red. The look she gave Chloe was no different from the way she glared at me in front of everyone. She pointed at Chloe and shouted, so money gives you the right to do whatever you want? To manipulate other people's lives at will? You don't even understand who I am. Let Brother Daniel come out. He's the only one who understands me. I want to see him. Oh, Chloe tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and stepped forward gracefully. She raised an eyebrow and winked at Isabella. Sweetheart, I'm the Brother Daniel you've been writing to. Anything you'd like to say? Isabella stared with wide, disbelieving eyes. Her waterlogged pig brain simply couldn't process the reality that her warm, gentle, mature, and dependable Brother Daniel was actually a stunningly beautiful woman with sharp features and a tall figure. Even she, the supposed campus belle, felt inferior by comparison. She shook violently, as if unable to accept the blow, gripping the armrest of the sofa beside her. She looked up with an expression of embarrassment and disbelief. When her eyes landed on me, they froze. She bit her lip and said, Alex, it was you? For a second, I thought she'd realized I was the one writing the letters. But the next second, She grabbed the glass on the table and hurled it at me. Luckily, I dodged just in time. The sound of glass shattering rang out. Security rushed in and pinned Isabella to the ground. She was still struggling, with bloodshot eyes, glaring at me like she wanted to tear me apart alive. Let me go? Get off me. Alex, you teamed up with her to mess with me, didn't you? You bastard. Just because I didn't like you, you cut off my support and even sent some girl to humiliate me. Alex, why don't you just go die? The entire living room fell into stunned silence. Everyone looked at Isabella like she'd lost her mind. After a long pause, Uncle Liam furrowed his brow and asked coldly, "How come I didn't know my daughter was sponsoring anyone?" His voice pulled Isabella back from the edge of her meltdown. She said, her voice trembling, "It was your daughter who sponsored me. She sent 5,000 yuan to my card every month." Uncle Liam frowned. "I'm Chloe's father. I know exactly what kind of person she is. She was spoiled from the day she was born, no compassion at all. You think she would pity you enough to give you money?" Chloe rolled her eyes so hard it was audible, but Isabella still refused to believe it. She said, "Then where did the money come from?" Chloe finally lost her patience. She stepped forward and kicked Isabella once hard, then said, "That money came from Alex, you idiot. What do you think, I'm a lesbian or something? Sending you money every month, writing you letters to comfort your fragile little ego. Alex did all that for you. And what did you do? You absolute moron." Isabella was stunned, staring at me like she just couldn't process the truth. Uncle Liam, seeing her about to break down, quickly had the security guards escort her out. That evening, when I got home and stepped out of the car, I saw Isabella standing under a street lamp, staring directly at me. Figuring I couldn't avoid this forever, I forced myself to walk over. She asked, "Why didn't you tell me you were the one writing me those letters?" I chuckled. "Would it have made any difference if I told you? You'd probably just scream at me. What I don't get is, why did you reject money from me at school like it was poison, but when it came from someone else, you accepted it so naturally, even acting all sweet in the letters?" Isabella pouted slightly and said, like it was common sense, "Of course there's a difference. When you gave me money at school and in front of everyone, wasn't that just to humiliate me? Yeah, I'm poor, but I still have pride and dignity. Do you even get that?" I rubbed my temples. I don't get it, and I don't want to. I must have been blind before. From now on, whether it's charity or sponsorship, I'm not interested, and I want nothing to do with you. You go your way, I'll go mine. I turned to leave, but she grabbed my sleeve. I tugged it back and sneered. "Do you even know how much this shirt costs? You got the money to pay for it this time." Isabella frowned and reluctantly let go, but she didn't walk away. After a few seconds of silence, she softened her tone and said awkwardly, "I admit I was a little extreme before. Actually, after I left the White House, I started. No matter what, you and I are still connected. Putting everything else aside, there's still something between us, right?" The more she talked, the wider my eyes got. Finally, I had to cut her off. "Isabella, what exactly are you trying to say?" She took a deep breath, as if making some huge sacrifice, and said, "Alex, we can start over. This time, I'm willing to let go of my prejudices and give your feelings a chance. But you have to agree to one thing. Jesus, I really didn't want to deal with this crazy girl anymore, but I'll admit I was curious. So what is it?" Isabella assumed I was just pretending to resist, thinking I only needed a little push to come crawling back. She curled her lips into what she thought was a charming smile and said proudly, "Give up the Imperial University recommendation. Let Kenji have it. If you do that, I'll try dating you." I was speechless. Sure enough, there's no such thing as the most shameless, only more shameless. I struggled to breathe from how hard that pissed me off. Still, I couldn't help but ask, and why the hell would I do that? Isabella mistook my anger for jealousy. She giggled and hugged my arm, already acting like she was my girlfriend. "Don't misunderstand. There's nothing between Kenji and me. He just helped me a lot, and I want to repay him. That's all." I asked, "Fine, you repay him. But what's that got to do with me giving up my spot?" She said, "If you like me and want to be with me, shouldn't you be willing to do something for me, Alex? Don't be so selfish." I pulled my arm out of her grip and shoved her away. "Get lost. Just get the hell away from me." Maybe that one word, "get lost," seriously wounded Isabella's fragile pride. She cursed me for being ungrateful, swore I'd regret this, and launched herself into a completely one-sided Cold War with me. But clearly she never told Kenji about my refusal to give up the recommendation. Otherwise, I wouldn't have overheard him in the bathroom bragging to his friends. When I get into Imperial University, you guys better come visit me in Beijing. Kenji's friends were all gushing around him. For real, Kenji? You're going to Imperial University? Kenji grinned. Of course. My grades might still be a bit short, but it's fine. As long as Isabella crooks her finger, Alex will obediently give up his recommendation spot. One of his friends said, but Alex is a typical spoiled rich kid, selfish to the core. If he finds out you want that spot, won't he make things hard for Isabella? Kenji frowned for a moment, looking slightly uneasy. Then, as if reassuring himself, he shook his head confidently. No way. Alex is such a simp for Isabella. There's no chance he'd go against her. Someone else laughed. True that. Alex is the ultimate simp. Another chimed in. If you ask me, Kenji's the real winner here. He's got the class bell completely wrapped around his finger. Kenji clearly liked the sound of that. He chuckled smugly. Naturally. You guys still have a lot to learn. They joked and walked off, voices fading in the hallway. I stepped out of the bathroom stall, expressionless, and calmly washed my hands. I genuinely couldn't wait to see the look on Kenji's face when he saw the actual results. It didn't take long. The day the recommendation list was posted, Kenji showed up early with his friends, waiting by the bulletin board. And then, in bold golden font on the celebratory notice, was the name, Alex. Kenji's face turned ashen. He frowned hard, muttering, "How could it be Alex? How could this happen?" Just then, Isabella passed by. Kenji, already humiliated, couldn't help but lash out. His voice took on a demanding tone as he said, "Isabella, why is Alex's name on the list? Didn't you say you'd help me get it?" Isabella wasn't in a good mood either. She had gone to see the principal, and the principal had previously offered to waive her school fees, which made her believe he had recognized her talent. But after the Chun family canceled their annual donation to the school, the principal finally realized what Isabella had done. She defended the Chun family beyond reason. So when she came asking for favors, he didn't even hesitate before kicking her out. Already frustrated by that, Isabella snapped the moment Kenji questioned her. Fuming, she puffed out her cheeks and said angrily, "What the hell are you talking about? If you wanted to get into Imperial University, why didn't you work for it yourself? Only losers think about using backdoor connections." Kenji's eyes widened in disbelief. He never imagined the always gentle Isabella would straight up call him a loser. Once the shock wore off, rage took over. He yelled, "You gold-digging bitch. Talking about hard work? Where was that attitude when I gave you money? Now that you've got the cash, you act like I'm nothing." There were plenty of students around the bulletin board. When they saw the two of them shouting, they started gathering to watch. Isabella, with her pride always sky-high, couldn't possibly endure such accusations. Her face flushed red, and the blade she once turned on me, now she aimed it at Kenji. She shrieked, "I'm a gold digger? What the hell did I take from you? You think someone like me would actually be into a social climber from the countryside like you? Please, go take a long hard look at yourself in the mirror. Isabella, are you out of your mind?" Kenji's eyes widened as he gritted his teeth and snapped, "Well, at least my parents are still alive. You killed your dad, and now you're dragging your mom down too. Where do you think your money came from anyway? Sponsors? Do you really think you're some rich heiress from a wealthy family? Now that no one's sponsoring you, you're back to borrowing money from me. What right do you have to look down on me? You. Isabella bit her lip, her whole body shaking with rage. "I thought you cared about me, that you genuinely looked out for me. But now I see you're just as vile as Alex. No, worse than him. You used to constantly trash Alex behind his back, but now I see it clearly. He's richer than you, more capable than you. And you, with your rat-faced look, it's obvious you're nothing good. I never should have listened to a word you said." Kenji shot back. "Oh, so now I'm the villain? You're the one who's vain and shallow, enjoying Alex's attention while acting all holier than thou. And now what? Suddenly I'm not good enough? I'm the rat-faced nobody, the worthless one? Well, guess what? You played Alex like a simp, and now that he's ignoring you, you think trying to crawl back will get you anywhere." The two of them stood right there in front of the bulletin board, slinging venom at each other, stabbing at each other's pride like knives. The surrounding students, drawn by the shouting, finally began to understand what had been going on. Someone murmured, "So Alex was the one getting screwed over the whole time, while these two were pretending to be the good guys and letting him take all the blame?" Another added, "Neither Isabella nor Kenji are any good. Only the world where Alex gets hurt has been achieved." Someone else said, "Good thing Alex snapped out of it in time. Whoever gets stuck with those two is just cursed." At that moment, I happened to be walking over with a classmate to check the recommendation results. As soon as we arrived, we heard Isabella and Kenji shouting like lunatics, with classmates whispering all around them. I was speechless. What the hell? Did I just get publicly redeemed? Isabella spotted me instantly. Fresh from her screaming match, she wiped away her tears and looked at me with a pitiful expression. "Alex, you're here." The moment I heard her voice, I didn't even think. I turned around and walked away. But behind me, Isabella called out, "I'm sorry. I was wrong before. I was horrible. I only just realized you were the one who truly cared about me." I shot back coldly, "Apology accepted. Everything else, take it back." Isabella sighed and said, "Come on, Alex, let's stop being so stubborn, okay? I promise, from now on, I'll give you my whole heart. Can we start over?" I paused, turned around, and then, "Let me repeat what I told you before." Isabella's eyes lit up. "What?" I raised my voice and said, "Get lost. Get as far away from me as possible, and don't ever try to be part of my life again." I was still a bit worried that rejecting Isabella so harshly might lead to more drama from her. But even though she had fallen out with Kenji and the original plotline had completely fallen apart, something still unfolded exactly as they were meant to, like the gears of fate turning, always arriving at their destined stop. Isabella's mother, in the end, never made it to surgery. She passed away in the hospital room. On the day of the college entrance exam, Isabella showed up with red-rimmed eyes and finished the entire test, but it was clear her mind wasn't really there anymore. When the results came out, just as I had expected, she bombed it, didn't even make it into an ordinary university. Meanwhile, thanks to the guaranteed admission, I happily headed off to Imperial University. Right before leaving for Beijing, something suddenly occurred to me. I immediately called my dad. "Dad, you still have Dr. Evans' WeChat, right? Send him a message. Tell him not to go to the hospital in the next few days." On the other end of the line, it sounded a bit chaotic. My dad said, "What? I'm actually at the hospital right now. Dr. Evans just got attacked." My heart skipped a beat. "What happened?" I asked urgently. My dad moved to a quieter spot before replying. "Not totally sure. Something about a patient dispute. A woman attacked him, injured both of his hands. The police have already taken her in. It was awful. She was screaming like mad when they dragged her out." I asked, "What was she screaming?" My dad. "She kept shouting, 'Didn't you say you'd help me get the money for my mom's surgery? Where is it? Where's my money?' Sounds like it was related to that donation drive Dr. Evans organized a while back. But the fundraising platform had some issue, so the money never made it out. Terrifying stuff. Dr. Evans was trying to help someone out of kindness and ended up like this. Even if his hands heal, he might never hold a scalpel again. He's been practicing medicine for decades. He was a damn good surgeon. One injury like this and countless future patients will suffer for it. What a tragedy." After hanging up, I let out a long, heavy sigh. In the end, Isabella still chose to go down that road. In the original storyline, after the incident, I had begged my parents to help pay damages and hire lawyers for her. But this time, without my help, she probably wouldn't make it through. Eventually, Isabella was tried and convicted, sentenced to 10 years in prison. This wasn't just a small incident. Originally, the Chin family had pulled strings and kept her protected, but now she had no one, no father, no mother, and she'd even burned bridges with Dr. Evans. Honestly, the fact that she only lost her freedom and not more was already considered lucky. On the day Isabella was taken to prison, my father and I happened to be there as well. Across the crowd of people, her eyes locked onto mine. She looked worn and frail, a world apart from the arrogant, radiant girl she used to be. It was like watching a female lead who had been given the power heroine script suddenly lose all her plot armor. Then she opened her mouth and silently mouthed the words to me. "Help me, please." Oh, it suddenly hit me. She's not holding some powerful female lead script. She's the protagonist of a redemption story, someone who needs to be saved in the beginning in order to grow later on. Too bad the simp has awakened.